Today, we are diving into James Clear's Atomic Habits. That book that's been absolutely everywhere. And for good reason. It's all built on this one simple but kind of mind-blowing idea that real, lasting change doesn't come from some huge, heroic effort. Nope. It comes from the compounding effect of hundreds of tiny, almost invisible decisions you make every single day. So, let's get into it.
So, let me ask you a question. Why is it so ridiculously hard to break a bad habit? I mean, we've all been there, right? You get super motivated, you decide you're going to make a change, you start off strong, and then a few weeks later, you're right back where you started. It is so frustrating. Well, it turns out it's not just you, and there's a really good reason it feels almost impossible sometimes.
See, according to James Clear, the problem isn't you, it's your system. He says we make two big mistakes. We try to change the wrong thing, and we try to do it in the wrong way. We get so obsessed with these big, ambitious goals when we should be focusing on just building a simple, consistent process. And that brings us to the first huge idea from the book, the power of compounding. You need to stop thinking about massive, earth-shattering changes and start thinking small, like incredibly small. Because those tiny 1% improvements, when you do them day after day, they have this amazing way of snowballing over time into truly incredible results. I love this quote. It apparently hangs in the locker room of the San Antonio Spurs, and it just captures this idea perfectly. Imagine that stonecutter, just hammering away day after day. 100 hits and nothing. It looks like he's failed. But then on that 101st hit, the rock cracks wide open. Now, was it that last hit that did it? Of course not. It was the sum of all the hits that came before. Okay, let's visualize this with another great analogy from the book. Picture an ice cube sitting on a table in a really cold room. Let's say it's 25 degrees. Now you slowly start to raise the temperature. It goes up to 29 degrees, then 30, 31. And what's happening to the ice cube? Absolutely nothing. It's just sitting there, exactly the same. You're putting in all this effort, raising the temperature, but you're seeing zero visible progress. And this, right here, this is the point where most of us give up on our new habits. But then, the temperature hits 32 degrees, and suddenly the ice begins to melt. That single 1-degree shift, which felt no different from all the others, unleashes this massive transformation. And that's the whole point. Breakthrough moments are almost never sudden. They're just the result of all the previous actions finally hitting a critical threshold. So, okay, that's the theory. But how do we actually engineer these breakthrough moments in our own lives? Well, Clear gives us a super simple and practical 4-step framework to build good habits and, just as important, to break bad ones. He calls them the 4 laws of behavior change. Basically, you can think of them like levers you can pull. To build a good habit, you just need to make it obvious, attractive, easy, and satisfying. And if you want to break a bad habit, you just do the opposite. Make it invisible, unattractive, difficult, and unsatisfying. Simple. Let's start with that first law. Make it obvious. There's this perfect example from a study at a hospital. They wanted the staff to eat healthier, but instead of giving them a lecture, they just changed the cafeteria. The fridges used to be packed with nothing but soda, so the researchers just added bottled water to every single fridge and drink station. And the results were, well, they were staggering. Without anyone having to use an ounce of willpower, soda sales dropped by over 11%, and get this, water sales shot up by almost 26%. All they did was make the better choice the most obvious one. Okay, let's jump to the third law, make it easy, because this one has a real game changer in it, the 2-minute rule. The idea here is to scale down any new habit so that it takes less than 2 minutes to do. So read before bed becomes read 1 page. Do 30 minutes of yoga becomes take out my yoga mat. The goal at first isn't to actually do the habit. It's just to master the art of showing up. And finally, the 4th law, make it satisfying. Here's the problem. Our brains want a reward right now, and most good habits don't pay off for months or years. So you have to find a way to get that immediate hit of satisfaction. A young stockbroker named Trent Dursmid came up with this brilliant trick. He'd start each day with 2 jars on his desk. One was full of 120 paper clips. The other was empty. After every single sales call, he'd move 1 paperclip over. That simple little action gave him this immediate, satisfying visual of his progress. It turned a total grind into a game. So this 4-step framework is an amazing tool for changing your actions. But the absolute deepest, most profound idea in Atomic Habits goes one level deeper. It's not just about what you do, it's about who you believe you are. And this is the crucial shift. Most of us, we set outcome-based goals. We say, I want to run a marathon. But a much, much more powerful approach is to set an identity-based goal. I want to become a runner. You see the difference? The goal isn't the finish line. The goal is to actually embody the identity. Here's a great example of this in action. A man who chewed his nails his entire life had tried to stop for years and years. The real change finally happened when he got his very first manicure. Suddenly, he started seeing himself as a person who takes pride in my nails. He wasn't just resisting a bad habit anymore. He was now acting in line with a brand new positive identity. So think of it this way. Every single action you take is like a vote for the type of person you want to become. You go for a 5-minute run, that's a vote for I am a runner. You write just one paragraph, that's a vote for I am a writer. These small habits, they aren't just about getting results, they're about literally reshaping your own belief in yourself, one tiny action at a time.
All right, so knowing all this, where do you even begin? And maybe more importantly, what do you do when life happens and you inevitably fall off track? Because you will. We all do. Well, the book offers one simple, incredibly powerful rule for this exact problem. Never miss twice. Honestly, this might be the most important rule in the entire book. It's not about being perfect. It's about preventing one slip-up from turning into a total downward spiral.
And here's why it works. Look, anyone can have a bad day. Missing your habit once, that's just an accident. It happens. But missing it twice, that's the beginning of a new negative habit. The first mistake is rarely what ruins you. It's the spiral of repeated mistakes that follows. So the key is just to get back on track as quickly as you possibly can. Ultimately, Atomic Habits isn't about some radical overhaul or achieving perfection. It's just about making those tiny 1% improvements day after day that line up with the person you truly want to become. So I'll leave you with this question. What's one tiny 2-minute action you can take today to cast a vote for your desired identity?